the irony is, I'm gonna batter unis here. The irony is of this whole process, I'm not an actual academic. I was put in bottom set at school, so I've been really pissed off about that. I've been angry about it, being labelled. And so I talk about behaviour conditioning a lot. So we're all conditioned to behave like we behave, think like we think, know what we know, do what we do, see what we see. But I do call schools exam factories in my book, and I do think they're exam factories. Lots of head teachers want to change the curriculum, but they're not allowed to. Not in a rude way. We're run by a government at the moment which is so far away from me as a human being. We've got a level of society at the moment which is not even lower class, it's sort of almost this underclass, where we've got third generation unemployment, right? So we've got dad who's not had a job, and granddad who's not had a job, and great granddad who's not had a job. So how do we break that cycle? But what about all those people that are walking around Brighton now, or Sussex, or anywhere around the world, that are assuming they're not intelligent because this place called school labelled them that you're either brainy or you're not brainy, but what you did at fucking, pardon my French, 16. My super strength is the ability to love learning. There's three things here. Character, calibre, debate. What's more important, someone's character or their calibre? These young people killing themselves because mummy and daddy potentially have said, you've got to go to uni and do this and what that. Hold on. No. Let's go and look at your kids' super strengths, what they're brilliant at and what can they go and get paid for. Interpersonal intelligence, so your intelligence to be great with people. But you don't get a GCSE in that, do you? You don't get a GCSE in entrepreneurialism. A GCSE in leadership doesn't exist. Self-talk is huge for kids. So I love my one-liners, right? There's no failure, there's only feedback. Right? And I can recite these now, but I'm reciting them to share them, really. You never lose, you either win or learn. Everybody knows more than somebody. Now, what's more important? This is a question, not an answer. To prove yourself or to improve yourself. Like Carol Dweck, who I've read for 30 years now, she proved in a science laboratory that effort leads to success. So she proved that your brain neurology changes when you try hard, but we don't teach that to kids.
I'm on a mission to help the world to see success differently. Through sharing the stories of our guests, I hope to inspire those that listen. This is the Different Hats Podcast, produced by H2 Productions. I hope you can join us on this journey. Welcome to another episode of the County Business Talks podcast. My guest on the podcast today is an author, an executive mindset coach, leadership mentor, trainer, keynote speaker, elite development mentor in the professional football, education and business industry. He's worked extensively across business and elite sport, including the England U15 National Squad and currently at AFC Wimbledon as head of performance mindset. His book, Educating Football, has received international press and media coverage along with global recognition. It is a book for teachers, coaches, parents and athletes around mindset, teaching, learning, but predominantly self-awareness. He is a founder of Solutions Mindset. He has appeared on Netflix documentary Sunderland Till I Die, as well as being a guest on the High Performance podcast with Jake Humphries and Damien Hughes, with over 10 million downloads. It's a podcast that really inspired me to start this podcast, and I'm truly honoured today to welcome Steve Sallis to the pod.
Thank you, Sam. So, people wouldn't know, we've just had a half an hour chat talking about we have so many people in common. So coming back to share with Sussex business men and women about my journey, having left Sussex in 1996 is a real honour, and having been in the studio and we've just discussed the evolution of Brighton as a town and a city, that's the evolution of people over 25 years, right? Things are constantly changing, and thanks for having me.
Oh mate, listen, absolute pleasure to everyone, it really is, and I'm so excited about this discussion, and look, we're going to delve straight in, mate. Just listen, tell listeners a little bit about yourself and your business journey and where it all started.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Brighton-born sort of custodian, and was really humbled to be a Dorothy Stringer School pupil. My dad was brought up in Whitehawk. My mum went to Van Deen School. They met at a nightclub in Brighton back in the 70s. And just literally a boy from Brighton have moved to London. And I moved to London 25 years ago, and I literally went. I know you've given me these questions, but I'm just gonna things that come into my mind with this podcast today. I got a job interview at the old Stanley Decent School, and talk about fate. And the old Stanley Decent School is not existing anymore. Then it moved to Brighton Media Arts College, and I've done all my teaching placements in South London in these craziest schools you've ever known. Because my granddad still lived on Whitehawk Estate, I thought I was a shoo-in for this job. And this was in 1999, my first job interview after uni. And I didn't get the job. So I do think to myself, had I got that job, I would have moved back to Brighton in 1999, and my life would be completely different. So, now I'm a businessman. Obviously, I'm 3 years in, so I'm really winging the life out of what not to do. I think I've learned how not to be a busy fool. I've learned there's some still short-sighted thinkers and some real silly people out there, but there's also some golden people out there who really care about you, and we not me type thing. Everyone wants to help each other out in business. So that's been the best thing about it. And not been easy though, I can't lie. Been really lonely as well.
Yeah, okay. Tell me a bit more about that. What do you mean? With your journey from now and over the period of different things you've done, like education and stuff like that, the loneliness side of it, because of your mindset, where you wanted to go, what you wanted to achieve, or
the whole thing has been organic. So obviously listeners won't know me. I moved from Brighton to London, went to uni after my failed football career at the football club at Brighton, and then I was the only footballer of my generation to have any A levels. So when I did my PE degree at Greenwich, and worked in 3 crazy schools on my placements, and then ended up, after that job interview at Brighton, ended up getting a job in London about a week later. Yeah. So I've been there since 1996 now, and obviously loved teaching. 17 years in inner city, worked in 4 failing comprehensives, and I was a vice principal for 9 years, which was one of the toughest things I've ever done in terms of strategic change. Making failing schools less failing schools. With great strategy and great operation and great people, and then had an opportunity to talk about this. Is an important story for the parents listening. We always say teachers' jobs is to change kids' lives, but an ex-pupil texted me, Sam, and said, "Do you know the job's going at Millwall?" And I swear to God, I was never thought about going back into pro football. So in 2013, I had an opportunity, applied for the job, was one of the academy managers at Millwall. Never thought I'd get it, because I've been out the game for so many years, and then 78 applied and I got it, and really that led to the England job, and that led to me leaving Millwall to start my business, and then anyway, the lonely bit, going back to your original question, is I've got in my car for 20 years at 6:30 to drive somewhere, and now on a Monday morning I don't do that, and I haven't got that camaraderie as much anymore. So that's probably why I've gone back into pro football with Wimbledon 1 or 2 days a week, just to get those friendships back.
Because we spoke offline, like we said, and what a small world football is in general. Like the amount of people, the connections that we've got and we've known. We've only spoke a couple of times previously and got to know each other over the last few weeks. But you go, how many people we're linked with football? Because that and like we allude, I used to play for Thamesmead. I'm still mates with people I played 12, 15 years ago, and it's such an amazing industry. It's such an amazing place being in part of football. When you are out of it, it's something that you can really miss, I guess. Yeah,
I mean, I was at the Emirates 4 weeks ago, 51,000 fans, and my friends from school were texting me going, like, mugging me off a bit. What are you doing there? Playing with me. But it's been an incredible journey, and the PE teacher, I suppose 8 years ago, the PE teacher. In me, no one knew I was apart from my local community and as a vice principal. And I came out of Heathrow last week, and Geezer come up to me and goes, "You're Steve Sallis, I've read your book." So things have changed majorly, but like.
Where does that then for you? Like, I want to come from obviously a working class background. You said about growing up here in Brighton, coming from a working class background. I think your old man was he a plumber? Is that right?
Yeah, he still is.
Yeah. And but where does that for you, that sort of drive, that ambition, where does that come from, do you think?
Honest to God, all my best uni pals are all achievers, so that helps. Your environment helps. My big brother's a head teacher, so he's an achiever. A lot of my pals, Brighton boys, were non-academic people. They all gone into roofing and flooring and all sorts. Yeah. And I was bottom set at school, so that's important to know. I'm not. The irony is of this whole process, I'm not an actual academic. I was put in bottom set at school. So I've been really pissed off about that. I've been angry about it. Being labelled, and for the parents listening on the podcast again today, is, you know, labels are wrong. You know, labels have got to go. You know, you are top set. Well, all right, you're top set in Whitehall, but you probably won't be top set in Hove. So let's get a context, you know, and making sure we're aligned with behaviours, we're aligned with our journeys, and I think the main thing is really, you know, I say my dad was working class. I weren't really working class because I was brought up with a very aspirational father. You know, and on the High Performance podcast, I said we went from a Cortina to an Escort to Sierra. Do you know what I mean? My dad's vans went from a Sherpa to a Ford to a Merc van. So I saw that growth. And I saw that that upgrade. So I think that linking to your question again, that aspiration of me is because I felt it and I saw it. And all I've done really is just carried that on, like, and every job I've ever had, I've always enjoyed. So I've never left the job. I've just like evolved into this next level, like. So it's all been, you know, like, it's all been quite fluke really. Like the England job came around because they offered me 50 days a year. I was working a full-time job at Millwall. Millwall said I couldn't do both, which they would think it was amazing. Anyway, long story. I won't share that now. So then I've got to find 310 days work a year. So that's the evolution of the business was because I got the England job as a consultant, 50 days. I had to find 310 days work. So I woke up one day and away I went. It was.
I guess again, I'll go back to that. Like, you know, we've spoke about it offline. I've heard you speak about it before, but that growth mindset, because that, like, to you look at that. Some people would have gone, I can't take that opportunity because I've got to then go and find that 310 days work somewhere. Like, but for you go, I've got to take that opportunity. I'll find another opportunity. I'll create something else, and that, like, your mindset there to go, I can go and do that. At
the time, it's not like that though. It makes it look now in hindsight. Look, it was very smooth. It was it was a very worrying time. I've had a salary as well. I talk in my business. I talk about behaving conditioning a lot. So we're all conditioned to behave like we behave, think like we think, know what we know, do what we do, see what we see. And therefore, I've been conditioned to wake up on a Saturday and Sunday knowing that I've still got this thing called a salary. And when you have a business, you don't have that salary, and you don't have your pension, and teachers' pensions are pretty good, and you lose all these things. But at the same time, it probably comes across as it was in a smooth transition. But mate, it's the hardest thing I've ever done. But at the same time, if your national football team come knocking on your door and you love football and you help in developing players, and you know, and I've got a picture in my house, you know, to prove that these players are players that I work with, and it makes me very proud.
So it should. What an amazing achievement! Because like you said, being in and around football, to have an opportunity like that, how can you not want to grab it and go for it and be part of? Have you got a lot of parents on this podcast? Yeah, there's been quite a few. Yeah, absolutely. Because this is something I know we sort of mentioned, and there's. The great thing about this, hopefully today, is going to be slightly different from the other podcasts that we've done so far. And I think because I really want to talk about the education and go back to what you said about you at school and being academic. Very similar. In really, I wanted to be a footballer like most of the other kids. I weren't a bad player back in the day. Getting up to 16, realised at 16 I weren't going to make it. Didn't really know what to do. I'd done okay at school, GCSEs. I've got reasonable GCSEs and stayed on and done A levels, but that wasn't really a thing for me, like the academic side of it. I wasn't that great. So, and I look back now and I think to myself, like, entrepreneurship, clearly that's who I am really, I guess. I've been running my own businesses for 12 years now. Some failed, some are doing okay, but I love working for myself and doing my own thing. But that wasn't encouraged back in the day, and it is a little bit more now. But I still feel the process with education, that you get tested, and if you fail that test, then you're not, you're in that set and you're seen as lower, and that's not successful. Whatever. I'd love to hear more of your thoughts on the education side of things, and what do you think about it?
Well, the truth is, great teachers are always timeless, so let's get that straight, before I go down bashing this system. But great teachers existed for thousands of years, haven't they? Yeah. But I do call schools, exam factories in my book, and I do think they're exam factories. Lots of head teachers want to change the curriculum, but they're not allowed to. Not in a rude way. We're run by a government at the moment which is so far away from me as a human being. And I don't want to go down a political route today, but I couldn't go for a beer with some of these people because they're so far away. And if you put any of those politicians of any of the parties in a mainstream school in South London, they get absolutely murdered. They would last 2 hours before they got mugged off and laughed out of the room. So I think we've got a level of society at the moment which is not even lower class, it's sort of almost this underclass, where we've got third generation unemployment, right? So we've got dad who's not had a job, and granddad who's not had a job, and great granddad who's not had a job. So we now, how do we break that cycle? So we break that cycle with a system which is more bespoke and more unique and more cutting edge. And there are some schools that are doing that. There are changing the curriculums. You know, some schools doing hair and beauty now at Key Stage 3, you know, years 7, 8 and 9. So that's been great, but there's still this arrogance of education, and I think people's perception of the word education, if we look at the word education, most people's perception of that word is to this place called school. Right? So therefore, you're, like you said earlier, you're either defined by your brainy or you're not brainy by what you do at 16. And I said this in my book. My mate James Morris, who's a Brighton Flora, you'll like this, he was the brightest lad in our class. And he used to whisper all the history answers because he didn't have the confidence to shout out in class. But I did have the confidence. But he had all the answers, and I was just pretending I had the answers. He went and did A-levels, and he sacked his A-levels off because he weren't happy. But now he's a Flora. My point, that I know that James knows that he's intelligent. But what about all those people that are walking around Brighton now, or Sussex, or anywhere around the world, that are assuming they're not intelligent because this place called school labelled them that you're either brainy or you're not brainy. But what you did at fucking, pardon my French, 16. That's just weird. Like. So anyway, I have to share this final bit because it is in my head and I don't want to forget. My super strength is the ability to love learning. Right, and that's a weird thing, weird concept, right? I don't love school, but I love learning. And what that learning has done, and what that passion for learning has done, has upskilled me at such a level of research where if someone says to me, Steve, I'm not having that, well, okay, no problem. If you're not having what I'm saying, you can't argue with my research methodology. Because I'm working with some top-end corporates and academics that want to challenge my opinions. But at the same time, I think my experiences, and I don't like the word, and this is for younger people listening on the pod, right? I get really pissed off they ain't got the experience. What a bullshit term, right? How about they haven't got the experiences? Right? Because you can be an experienced person but be involved in the same industry, in the same building for 30 years, but actually talk absolute crap, right? Because you've got experience, but it's the wrong experience. So I think we've got to be really rounded in the modern world, that we look at young people and invest in their experiences and how that can add value to a workplace.
I love that. And I think, like, then, but do you think that there is a shift? Do you think there is... things are starting to change? Like, I guess more people like you that have been in the education system and are able to implement change or say that these things as a vice principal. I remember going back to, I went to the worst school in the borough back in Dagenham, went to Robert Cloud. My history A-level teacher at the time, Mr. Grant, he took over the year we left. So we come out as the worst school in the borough. He went in and completely... that is now the best school in the borough, Robert Clayton, and he turned that around. So the impact, like you said, there's the power and the impact that some teachers and some people can have in there is phenomenal. But I guess the point I'm trying to get at is, like, do you think that with the way the education system is, it's just until things change at the top, government, that it's always going to just continue how we are, or do you think there is a little bit of a shift at the moment?
There's three things here: character, calibre, debate. What's more important, someone's character or their calibre? In the UK, we're obsessed with calibre. You know, you've got that degree, but there's educated people that are not intelligent, and intelligent people that are not educated. You know, if everyone who had a teaching degree, like, actually looked at themselves. So you talked about my work around self-awareness. I know every single person listening to this call right now, they had a teacher that changed their life, and they had a teacher that was shit. I know it, because I know enough about teaching and I know enough about life. How mad is it, Sam, that the teacher who's changing lives has got exactly the same qualification as the one that's shit? Right? And they get paid exactly the same amount of money. And that is morally and ethically fundamentally wrong. Now, you could argue that's a subjective statement around good teachers or bad teachers, but let's just be sensible about this. And generically, there are teachers out there that are sacking it off. There's doctors out there that are sacking it off. There's pro-licensed football coaches out there that are sacking it off. There's architects that are sacking it off. There's PhDs that are sacking it off because they haven't got the character to go and be a grafter. So therefore, we've got to be really mindful and careful as parents and as educators to say, like, what actually are we trying to do? What are we trying to grow? You know, Bristol Uni had 12 suicides in 2019. You know, so we've got a Russell Group University, one of the top unis, and this is not about being negative towards Bristol because it's not about them, but these young people killing themselves because mummy and daddy potentially have said, you've got to go to uni and do this and what that. Hold on, no. Let's go and look at your kids' super strengths, what they're brilliant at, and what can they go and get paid for, and make it as simple as that.
You know what? I love it. So this is where I think I'm guessing we quite agree on. So for me, I look at, if my kids come to me and want to become a solicitor, want to become a doctor, they've got to go to university to get them qualifications to go. That's the only path for them to get that. If they come to me and say, I want to go uni because I don't know really what I want to do and I just want to go and get a degree for whatever, I'd much rather them come to me and go, Dad, I've got this idea, or this is what I love doing. I'm going to go and travel the world. I'm going to do this, whatever. Just a different type. I would encourage that just as much as I would, like, because I think, but I'll go back to when I'm 42. I'll go back, 25 years. It was the case of, look, the mindset was you go to university. There was only 2 people out, my wife being one of them, went out a year, went to university about a year. The rest, you go and get a job and you'll be there for 20, 30. Like, that was never going to be me. That would be my worst nightmare. So for me, I'm looking at, like, I love the fact that you're saying about with kids, just what are your strengths? What do you love doing? And that's the path you're going to take. Not, it's got to be that you go to university and get a job then for the rest of your life doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but the school curriculum doesn't allow that flexibility and that freedom. I mean, I have to give the listeners access to someone called Howard Gardner, who wrote a book in the 1970s called Multiple Intelligences. Yeah. So when I talk to you about my research, I'm not saying this to sound like a knob. I'm saying it because it really adds value to people's toolbox. And Howard Gardner wrote this book, 60 years old, and it's before its time. Yeah. And he broke down intelligences into non-academic intelligence, and one of them was intrapersonal intelligence. So the intelligence to have a great relationship with yourself. Right. Now, how many people in the world have a truly great relationship with themselves? Me and you mentioned a little bit off air about our own mental health. Ours is good and it's bad, there's ups and it's downs. And I'm someone that's definitely suffered with anxiety all my life on and off. So always having to manage my mental health. And he also discusses interpersonal intelligence. So your intelligence to be great with people. Yeah. But you don't get a GCSE in that, do you? You don't get a GCSE in entrepreneurialism. A GCSE in leadership doesn't exist. So unless we create a curriculum which is designed to suit the kids rather than the other way around, then we're still, if you do what you always do, then you get what you've always got. So that we're in that headspace. But the irony is, I'm gonna batter unis here. The worst place to learn scientifically, the worst way to learn is by being spoken at, a lecture. Yeah. But universities are the top people in the world at apparently educating people. I know we're on a pod and you can't see me. Call those lecture theatres. Yeah. Now, why don't they just rephrase them and change their language and call them learning theatres? Yeah. So language is such a derogatory and a powerful and a negative and a positive. Yeah. So if we know that if you get lectured at, you're not going to learn. That's the least way to learn. You'll retain the least amount of information. Yeah. But then the top people in the world are still calling them the same names. Where are we at? And that's the type of thinking I'm talking about. It's just everyone's just got to change the game. Yeah.
Oh, mate, okay, fascinating. Look, we're talking about behaviours and stuff like that. And we mentioned we've gone through sort of. A lot of people listen, entrepreneurs, business owners, people I've had on the pod and stuff like that, but we talk about challenges and failures. I've heard you talk about it before, and I'm really keen for you to share it with the listeners now, but what's your relationship with failure? Talk to me about some of the challenges you faced and over the years and maybe failed at, and I guess looking back at even at the football side of things right at the start, like maybe how'd you bounce back from that? What's your mindset around?
Well, I think when you play sport, you get beat so many times that you learn subconsciously and unconsciously to lose. I'm working with lots of adults that have never been involved in a team environment, so that's not derogatory to them, but we work with people and then we assume that group dynamics in a workplace or in an office are going to be really good, but then we've got people that have never been involved in a team environment at 45 years old. And then we assume that they're just going to be really good at a we, not me process and being really, team orientated. So that's the first thing. I mean, failure, what have I learned about failure? The first year of business, I was getting, mugged off people left, right and centre, and it used to really affect me because I was quite sensitive, because why would people not want my services? And the irony is, my knowledge and my toolbox now, not in a rude way, is exactly the same as it was 3 years ago. But now I've been on a few important podcasts, people seem to want my time. So there was a Premiership rugby club that haven't wanted my services, and then something happens and then they want my services. So I've learned that there's a bit of bullshit about your life, because you need to just understand that some people just think you're more important because you're more important. But the failure thing, I've really, I've had some really tough times. You know, I've gone for 25 jobs and not got them. Got asked, one Premier League club asked me to go and apply for the job, and still didn't get the job. So, you know, I've had all those stuff. You know, I failed my GCSEs.
Where's that? It's obviously there. Then there's that resilience that's inside you that just goes, oh, I'm still good. Like,
But you got. I think again, because I've had so listen. This is, you know, like eye specialist. You know what an eye specialist is? Do you know what an eye specialist is? No. Yeah, someone that says, I did this and I did that. So I don't want to come across as an eye specialist. But I've had so many. I've taught 40,000 kids. Wow. Right? And 40,000 kids, not in a rude way, a lot of them pretty dysfunctional kids. And I've made them, like all our staff, all the people, teaching assistants, everyone, has made them better people. So I've got a lot of experiences of success. So the reason I back myself professionally is because I've got stuff in the bank for 25 years, which gives me the confidence to go, I'll walk in with an England player, or walk in with a really unable kid that can't speak English. I still know I'm going to help them, because I've got a toolbox of skills and knowledge to be able to articulate that and apply it and help.
Amazing. But okay, then let me ask you this then. What about failure for kids? Like, do you think we allow them to fail enough? Like, I look at I've got twins who are 6, and I helicopter parenting. I'm certainly not that thing, but you want to protect them, so you go, oh, you don't do that. But I guess the point I'm getting at is that it's okay to fail. I don't think there's like, I've failed a lot more than I've succeeded in life. I know that, but it's okay to fail and make them mistakes and then learn from them. As long as you learn from them, it's got to be about an experience, surely.
Self-talk is huge for kids. So I love my one-liners, right? There's no failure, there's only feedback. Right? And I can recite these now, but I'm reciting them to share them, really. You never lose, you either win or learn. Everybody knows more than somebody. You know, so if we can upskill young people with this toolbox of knowledge, these toolbox of one-liners, but they're not one-liners, are they? They're good self-talk to upskill you on understanding that. I've got a concept in my book called Prove or Improve. And one of my biggest regrets is not sharing that properly in the book. I'm writing it more in my new book. But now what's more important? This is a question, not an answer. To prove yourself or to improve yourself? Now, again, the problem with failing and succeeding is this place called school defines people's mindsets for life, whether they're brainy or not brainy, by this thing called school. But we know that when you get out into the real world, that's not always the case. So that balance between proving yourself and feeling good and improving yourself is a fine balance, isn't it? But that, therefore, people's understanding and perception of failure, you know, I'll give you an example here. Here's a question. If the word fail didn't exist, just say that word doesn't exist. Right? What word do we use?
Don't know.
Exactly. Right. But my point is, we get so sucked into this word.
You're right.
And that word is quite final. So you mentioned the growth mindset stuff. Like Carol Dweck, who I've read for 30 years now, she proved in a science laboratory that effort leads to success. So she proved that your brain neurology changes when you try hard, but we don't teach that to kids.
What's fascinating is I know that listening to you talk and listen to the certain thing you're saying, there's so much, and I do just think that a shift and a change from within this school environment will change the mindsets and set kids up for just a better life ahead of them if we can. And it's again just a lot of it's down to the language we use and how we communicate that to them. And
I mean, I've created a school pathway called the High Performance Pathway. So I do a lot of work in schools, and I've got another project called My Future Self. So the My Future Self project is will your future self thank you for decisions you make today. So I'm in a great position because I can go in and share with the kids my journey and who the people that I help, and not talk to them like a teacher, tell them how it is, and give them love, of course, but also tell them straight, what teachers can't always do. So that's hit 40,000 kids, 50,000 kids in the last sort of 18 months, even with COVID.
Wow.
It's been amazing. But since the High Performance podcast, I've created a High Performance Pathway, which is like a 12 to 15 hour program on basically all the stuff I do with my corporate businesses, right? And I'm giving it to 15, 16 year olds. And tomorrow I'm in Eastbourne tomorrow at Cavendish at St Catherine's Academy, and I sent them a WhatsApp, and they've got some hard to reach boys there, but we're doing it with a twist tomorrow. I've said to the boys, if you don't want to come to my sessions, you don't have to come to my sessions. So no kid tomorrow is being forced to see me for 2 2-hour slots. They have to choose. And I mean this genuinely, because I can't help anyone that don't want the out. So anyway, out of 32 kids that were on the list, 31 I've chosen. So I think again that kids are always getting told what to do, and I'm really chuffed that the head teacher there at St Catherine's has gone, yeah, well, I'm up for that. Let's innovate this a little bit.
But that's where change comes from, innovation. People go out and doing giving that power, because ultimately, even this leads us quite nicely into the next bit about we're going to talk about culture and stuff. But even that from a business, from a leader, as a business owner, you create a culture at work. But how you talk to your staff, how you get them to believe in what you're doing, and giving them. I think over the last 18 months or 2 years, I think you speak to a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, and who have gone, right, we've all got to work from home. There's an archaic way of going, same with schools in the sense, but the way of thinking, especially in professional services, 9 to 5, you come in and work 9 to 5. And I know if you're sitting in front of me, you're doing the work. That person ain't doing as much work. But if you give them that responsibility, you give them that opportunity, you say, right, you work from home, I trust you to do. If they work at 8 o'clock in the morning, finish at 3, and then they start again and they answer an email at 7 o'clock at night, if they're productive and doing that job for you, because you've given that little bit of extra responsibility, surely that's got to be a better way of doing it. And the same, I guess, alluding to what you've said there, even just giving people responsibility and accountability, and that they will make the right choice, no?
Yeah, but people just don't. People are so short term, and poor leaders often they have not got a good relationship with themselves.
Yeah.
So we need to know that, and people going home and their whole personal lives are being wrecked because of this thing called work, because their boss is a bit of a bully or a narcissist or or sociopath or passive aggressive. These behaviours to me are so obvious. Like, I'll give you an example. When we did the deal about me coming down to see you today, I don't have to tell you 1,500 times that I'll be here on the 4th of November. I'll be here. Now, the hard thing for you maybe, because you don't know me, whether I'll be here or not, but if I'm not here, then for the rest of your life, you're just going to think he's a blagger. So there's always a short-termism to leadership, and I think like leading is quite an interesting concept. Like, here we go then. Here we go. You're the boss, and you're telling me what to do, right? So Sam, the boss, is telling Steve, can you go and get that done? Now you're telling me because you want it done. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I can get that done, right? So that's what hierarchy does. Get that done.
Yeah.
But the meaning of true influence is Steve, who's receiving that from Sam, has to want to do it when you tell me.
Yeah.
So if we flip that round, do this, do that, no problem. But that person receiving that has got to want to do it.
Yeah, sure.
So if we don't get that want from the receiver, we're stuffed.
Yeah. And I guess then, and like I said, this does really lead us into this. So let's talk about it then. Let's talk about culture, and because look, it's football. The analogy between the culture you create in a football team, similar to what you would in a business, in that sort of sense. So how do you create a space where people want to be and want to do that, and want to believe in you as a leader, as an individual? What is it that you can do as business owners, as people listening to this, as business owners, entrepreneurs, people who are running that? What from your experience with cultures within football, especially, what stuff can you advise on that?
Yeah, I prefer to talk about the workplace, because I think that the people listening to this will relate to that more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Football and business are the same, by the way. So first thing is, an expert hires an expert. So you're in charge. You've got to go and get people that are telling you what to do.
Yeah.
All right. So as a vice principal, I apply it. I will try and apply this. I've got middle leaders, maths, English, science, history, whatever. I don't know anything about those subjects, but I do know about how I lead about those subjects. So I need those experts below me in the hierarchy, and I'm doing that with tongue-in-cheek language, that they tell me what to do. So that's the first thing. Yeah. Because you need to go and get people that are more skilled.
Employ people who are better than you.
Yeah, in that niche, in their niche skills. Secondly, you need people that are on the culture bus. Whether they're born or made, I don't know. I think there's a mixture in my world. If they're not born and they have to be made, then you need a great CPD program. A lot of companies that I talk to, bosses are just like trying to do everything. They're trying to train their staff. Like, no, you just focus on your business, and I will focus on developing your people. Yeah. Right? And too many bosses are getting too sucked in, and it's false economy. Like, pay me 6-7 times a year. Like, that time that I'm doing that, like, not only do your staff get a different voice, right, but you get that time to build your business. Yeah. So there's a lot of pride sometimes with business leaders. Yeah. And then the final thing is, I suppose, in my book I've got a chapter called No Dickheads. So, no dickheads is no dickheads. Don't get anyone near me that's any negative energy at all. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that you can't feel sad or feel vulnerable. They're different things. But if you're genuinely, an energizer, or you're genuinely a de-energizer, then people in the building need to think about it. Yeah. I would have all these one-liners on the walls in an office. I would have. Yeah, because it can be a little bit playful, and can be a little bit light. So an energizer and a de-energizer in schools, I used to call them happy hoovers or happy hairdryers to the year sevens. A bit lighter. You're blowing out love or you're sucking it up. Yeah. So loads of work around self-awareness, loads of work around we not me, loads of work around how we build high performance. Yeah. But the priority is bread and butter. Brilliant basics. I call it the +1 effect a little bit. Like, +1 effect means do more than you have to at work, but know when to go home to.
Yeah, okay. That's really interesting. Yeah. I like that. The no dickers. There's a guy I know. He's in he runs a creative agency in Crawley. A guy called Matt Turner. He's a good friend of mine. And he on his wall, they've got no dickheads. Yeah. And he said, and he stands by that, and he goes, I won't employ dickheads, and clients won't be dickheads, and I won't surround myself with them type of people. And I think, like, you look at that and go, fair play. You know what I mean? And that's ultimately we're doing it. You say about that, like the whole mood hoovers and people, because we are ultimately you surround yourself by. I'd like to think I am. People would describe me as a positive person. Generally got a smile on my face, and I go about doing my thing. So you go, I want to surround myself with people that are like that you feed off, and you go like. But how does that then? Because obviously everyone in an environment within a workplace you are going to have different characters, aren't they? But do you have everyone buying into the same? You've got to have that strong culture that everyone buys into.
Yeah, I think it's a bit more subtle than that. I think I don't do any psychometric testing. I think that's a load of nonsense. I think people nicking a living out of doing that sort of stuff. Yeah. I'll tell you why. We're not a thing. We're not a label. We're an organism, and we grow and we evolve like a little bit like a river, really. Yeah. We keep moving, and some of my methodology is so much more detailed than a psychometric test. And the problem with psychometric testing is are the people self-aware enough to even get the questions right? Yeah. To then be labelled that you're a colour, you're a label, you're a number. Anyway, I'm being a bit sarcastic there, a bit tongue-in-cheek, but it's not for me. There's so many more things that you can do to develop people, understanding people's personalities in a lot more softer, subtle ways. Introverts 30-40% of the working world, so you've got to be respectful that not everyone's going to be an extrovert, and as we know, introverts actually statistically are better listeners, and they actually have more consistency as well. So getting that sophisticated, detailed recruitment process right to get. It's a bit like a game of chess, isn't it? You need the right places. A big game of football. You need the right people and doing the right skills. And actually, the key to any high performance is emotional intelligence, and therefore understanding that, if we have misalignment, then we are okay if we've got emotional intelligence. But the problem with having misalignment with someone with low emotional intelligence is that they start becoming confrontational. So we've got to have just sensible people saying sensible things every day. Yeah. And if everyone says sensible things every day at work, then the business is probably going to be successful, aren't they?
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay. Let's. So it's been great because I love it. I've sort of seen some obviously initial questions, and it's been great that we've been able to go back in and come a little bit off piste and go around. Like we've delved into the obviously education side of stuff. I think I do just want to go back a little bit, I guess, to the advice that just to listeners, our parents, and stuff like that, and some advice that you'd be able to give to back to the kids about developing that strong mindset from a young age. Then you
stop being obsessed with proving yourself. You know, my kid's got top set of maths. Well, yeah, they're top set of maths at, let's say, Dorothy Stringer, but they wouldn't be top set at Brighton College. So there's always a context to everything. So the reason we have to focus on improving rather than proving is that proving is just this dangerous place. You know, things like, I got 8 out of 10 in my maths test, and then you say to your kid, all right, what did you get right? And they go, don't know. What did you get wrong? Don't know. Got 8 out of 10.
Okay.
You know, this obsession with this label of success. Parents on the side on Sunday mornings are desperate for their kids to win. And then there's that really wise parent who stands in the corner that's probably been involved in youth development that doesn't care whether they win or they lose. They just want their kid to enjoy and learn and grow. And then, you know, you win 5-0, but then your team that you're playing against are rubbish. And then really you want your kid to be really successful and play the highest level they can, but then winning 5-0 is not going to make you better, is it? You know, you need to be challenged at the right level. So I call it stress and safety on a bit of a scale. One end we got stress, one end we got safety. That balance between stress and safety is a fine line for your kids. But main thing is super strengths. What you're good at, and then an understanding that failure and normalising failure. I said that on the high performance, just normalising it, having conversations about failure, you know, and also parents' reaction. What if a kid falls over in a park? What do most parents do?
I'll pick them up.
Yeah, but they normally panic as well. Just don't do anything. See what happens. And I'm not being that to be cruel. I'm just saying that to.
But look, I'm with you because I've been there. I've missed like one of them fall over and you run over straight away. Or you go like you want to protect. But you're right. It's again. I guess it's back to like we've touched on it already. But you go back to allowing them to foul and fall over and hurt themselves and how they deal with that. And because that is then. You go back to that helicopter parenting. So if you are over there and you're always stopping them from doing, no, don't do that. You might fall and hurt yourself. Let them fall and hurt themselves, and then they learn that I'm not going to do that again.
There's some statistics when I taught PE that if you put mats at the top of at the bottom of the apparatus on the floor, they're more likely to fall off. If you don't put mats, they're less likely to fall off. All right. So there we go. It's a bit of social science for you. A bit random, isn't it? But I said this on the high performance one again. Kid comes to you and says, Mum, Dad, I'm really struggling with X and Y. And most parents just don't want to fix it. Just say to your kid, I'm really sorry that you feel like that. Go upstairs and write 5 things about 5 possible solutions. And come and see me in 24 hours if you found any solution to this problem. I love you. I'll see you in a bit.
Wow. Yeah. I love that. Because I'm trying. Like, I want to build like the kids up. I want to build these kids to be resilient. I want them to go out there and I want them to look at life like there's an opportunity and not be. The last thing I want is them to fear failure. 100%. Go out and try things. I'd rather you try things and it not work out, and then you come to me.
But it's a parent's reaction, isn't it? You know that metaphor about the kid falling over. Of course, if your kid falls over, it's like upsetting.
Of course.
But it's the reaction of the parents. Most parents' evenings I've been to, right? I mean, I'm just talking at the parent, and the parent's talking at me. Like, no. Parents' evenings should be called pupil evenings.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so parents just interrupting their kid all the time. The amount of parents I've had to say, can you just let your kid finish his sentence, please?
Wow. Yeah. And I guess, again, touch on a point you made, again, at different levels as well. It's all about, ultimately, it's just about communication, isn't it? From whether it is a teacher to a pupil, or whether it's a father to a son or daughter, or whatever it is, or a leader to their members of staff. That level of communication and how you communicate that, language we use, terms we use, them type of things, we've all got to be mindful of. If we've got
of course, which is why literacy is so important. You know, and if I won't have time today to talk about emotional literacy, But with literacy, you have speaking and listening, you have reading and writing, and you have communication.
Yeah.
So people who have got more words are able to articulate themselves in a better way because they've got more choice about the words they use.
Yeah.
And therefore, you get a lot of angry people from childhood, and they go into teenage years and they're angry, and they get to adulthood and they're angry because they haven't got the words to be able to articulate how they feel, right, in times of stress. So coaching and teaching, and this is why reading's so important, because what reading does is upskill your children to be able to be more articulate, hopefully.
Yeah.
But the next level is the emotional literacy rather than just traditional educational literacy, you know?
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, mate. Look, we're sort of coming towards the end. Before we do sort of some quick fire questions, tell me what's the future hold for you, mate?
When I read that question, it's the only question that stood out to me. Not in a rude way. There was a lot of questions on there, but that was one that stood out to me. I say the same thing every time. Future is contentment, zero minimising stress, building new friendships, sustaining current friendships, staying fit and healthy, being grateful, you know, and really, not one of those answers was linked to the word business, was it? And that wasn't deliberate, by the way. That was just the automatic answer. Business growth's really important. I'm organic. I'm rushed. I'm flustered at the moment. I'm overwhelmed because I'm successful, and then I get more successful, and people might think that's a dream. I fucking hate it. Yeah, I hate it because I don't know what to do. I've never done this before. Do you know what I mean? But I've never done this before.
Then talk to me about that's interesting. Then with different levels of success and whatever that looks like, but what is it? Like, but it's all about the narrative, isn't it? That the narrative of what we think success is. So this is, and like I said, I think we spoke about this a little bit offline. But like for me, up until I was 40, my narrative around success was financial wealth. Once I've built a business that I can sell, or I've made a few quid, that is I'm successful. So I guess in a way I was money motivated. I'm going to be successful when I've got to this point in life. I've reached this destination and I've made loads of money. That's going to be where I'm at my. And I went for it, and I got to 40, and I wasn't anywhere near that, and I wasn't financially secure. So in my head, I was like, I went through a really dark time. At 40, I was very low, and I'm not successful. And I looked all around, and then all I've done was change the narrative in my brain of what success looked. Because I look round, and like you just mentioned about relationships and friends, and I've got pals who I've known since I went to school, who would walk over hot coals for me. I'd do the same for them. My brother's my best mate. I've got lovely wife, beautiful kids, lovely family, surrounded by people within the business community who are not just business associates but good friends. You go, actually, that's success. Like for me, I'm experienced loving all these forms, and I've then achieved. So if I died tomorrow, there would be an element of success, and I guess I'd just change in my head what the narrative of success looked like. I guess. Yeah,
but that's linking to prove or improve again, isn't it? Yeah. When you were 40, you were so obsessed with I've got to prove that I'm next to this. Yeah. And I think that sometimes I'd probably need to pinch myself a little bit, but nothing changes. I'm still that bloke with the same strengths and vulnerabilities and successes and failures. And nothing changes because it's all about my internal dialogue. And I've said to you off air, my internal dialogue this week ain't been great. You know, I've had a bit of a rough week. But what are the controllables? The controllables are reaching out. The controllables are sharing. The controllables are, for me, staying off booze, because I'm not a big drinker, but booze don't do you any good. Eating well, staying in the gym. Now, they're the controllables for me to feel within myself all right. You know. And the hard thing at the moment for me is that everyone always wants my energy, and sometimes Sam, I can't be fucked. And I'm not saying that because I can't be fucked. I'm saying that because I've given a lot to a lot of people for a lot of time, and I'm cool doing it, and I love doing it. But sometimes my level of self-care needs to improve.
Mate, that's really honest. That's really, because self-care is such something. Again, I don't really, for myself, I've started this podcast because I love a chat, as you know. I'm inspired and listening to people like yourself, and I think, but like ultimately, it's a little bit of therapy for me. It's like an education for me.
Yeah, good.
Like listening to people and advice, and I think like that is. Thank you for sharing that. But I think like is that self care is something that I work a lot of hours. I still juggle and make sure I spend time with the family and with the kids, and because all them things, I try and spin all these plates. I don't take that much time for myself personally, and it's interesting to listen to you talk about, because I guess with all the things that you got going on as well, and with like you said, with success, then more success comes. What jump into a little bit about just like work-life balance for you? Like, what does that look like?
I'm glad you've asked me this. Problem with my job is I've got to be 10 out of 10 every time I meet someone, haven't I? No, I can't float in and be a 6 out of 10, sit behind the office and behind the laptop and crack on. You know, so when I was a school teacher, I had my 10 out of 10 days. But if you're 6 out of 10, you've got so many 10s in the bank and 9s in the bank and 8s in the bank that you're all right with people. Now people employ me, and I've got to be the absolute governor every time I walk in, and that isn't easy.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, mate, this is where the pressure comes from. The pressure's been crippling at times for me. And that's when I said to you about organic growth, because I don't know what I want to look like. I certainly don't want to be a Tony Robbins. I couldn't think of anything worse. You know, I couldn't think of anything worse. There's something in me that just wants to be under the radar, happy. Yes, earning money now, because I haven't earned any money being a teacher. So I want to pay off a mortgage, and I've got a flat in London, and I don't want to live in a flat in London when I'm 50. You know, I want to have a house with a garden. I think I deserve to have a house with a garden. You know, in an area that I want to live in. London is ridiculously expensive, but again, I'm always learning about what I want. I definitely don't want to be overworked. Like when I'm overworked, that is stress.com. That is something.
It's not good for anyone, is it? Like
no, but it's a problem. But people keep wanting my time, and then I'm thinking, well, let me just apply this for everyone. This is a great way to end. When I was a school teacher, I knew the pinch points. I knew parents' evenings. I knew weekends. I knew when my half term was, when to slow down. I knew all of the pinch points. When you're at a football club, I know my pinch point is going to be middle to end of the week with training to get the team set up for Saturday. And believe it or not, I go to work on a Saturday. People think it'd be amazing, but when you're in professional football, it ain't amazing, because you need to win. Because if you don't win, you don't keep your job. And I care about our manager and all the backroom team in a major way as friends. So we're having a bit of a tricky time at the moment. So we've got a game again, FA Cup this week. So we've got to get a result and take the pressure off a little bit. But at the same time, is that balance is really difficult. And in summary, really, the 10 out of 10 sort of analogy is the hardest thing.
Sure.
You know, it really is.
Mate, listen, I could chat to you for ages, honestly. I'm so grateful you coming on today and your time. It's been absolutely brilliant. Look, I'll finish with a couple of quick fire questions, as I sort of mentioned. I just want to, from very business way, I ask everyone this one, so I just want to go, what advice would you give to a young person, entrepreneur, someone wanting to start their own business?
Respect loneliness, be prepared for it, super strengths. Some people that, be yourself, but you got to have a nous to open doors. The reason I say that, I've been really crap at asking for favours. Shocking. I haven't asked for, my network's unbelievable, and I haven't asked for any favours. So I haven't asked.
Why is that?
Firstly, I haven't, in a weird way, I haven't really needed to, because the work's been coming in. But when the work's dried up a little bit, I still haven't asked for favours. I've just probably been a busy fool. So instead of picking up the phone and just going, do you know, Sam, do you know any businesses that might require my skills? I haven't done, honestly, I swear to God, I haven't done that once.
But you see, like, what I get from you, look, you didn't know me, we spoke, I reached out to you on LinkedIn, you sent me your number, you took the time out to ring me, I told you what I was trying to do with this, be really grateful you come on, and you're here now with me, I reached out to you, and it seems like you want to give and help people, but you're not. You don't. Do you feel you don't need to ask for help because
no, it's not that. Or no, it's not that. It's a blockage. Because
people would like. I think like, you know, if you did call me and say, Sam, look, these are the type of company, and I know them people. 100%, I want to help you. And
I think it's a teacher in me, mate. I can't describe it. You know, and we talked off air about money. Money's more important to me now but it's never been important to me, because when you go into teaching, you know what you're earning. Everyone knows what they're earning in teaching.
Sure.
So therefore, money is definitely not your motivator, and people your motivator.
Yeah.
So I'm now in that transition of, now I have a business to earn this thing called money, which apparently this thing called money then makes you happy, and it don't make you happy, does it?
No.
Don't give a shit what anyone says.
No.
This thing that we all work really hard for, called money, like, what's that all about?
Yeah. It's, you know what, it's fascinating. There's a podcast I listen to, and it was a bit of a game changer for me. It's like one I listened to called Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett.
Yeah.
Really interesting. He done one recently with a guy called Mo Gaudat. I don't know if you heard of him. He was Chief Business Officer at Google X, multi-millionaire, done trading on the side, printed money, not happy. Son died at 21, and completely changed his life. And he's wrote a book called Soul for Happy. Fascinating. But listen to that podcast is absolutely gold. I've been saying to people, listen to it, because he basically tried to create this theory around happiness and what that looks like. And because he said, I was at this point in life where I had 16 cars, a Rolls Royce Phantom in the garage, massive mansion, blah, 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 wasn't happy. And then all of a sudden his son died at 21, who was just this happy soul, and he was contacted by loads of people that his son had gone round and touched over his 21 years on the planet, and it was a routine operation that he died from, and he just went so he's now spreading the word of happiness and how that looks and what you should do, and the one thing it's not is money, and that's not what makes people happy, and that's not where happiness lies.
I'm lucky like that though.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I was a teacher. I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
You know, work every day.
Yeah.
For this human being.
Yeah.
Give your life to this human being.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds obvious, but actually I haven't really thought about it that much. Only recently, when people said to me about business and this question that you're asking me, well, no, I'll get up every day to give to these people.
Yeah.
And it don't matter how much I give, much or little, I'm doing it without a pound noting ever in my mind. Mad, isn't it, really?
That's amazing, though. That's selfless, though, as well. There's obviously you get stuff out of you of rewarding that sense. You do get paid to a degree, but that is not what motivates you. That's what I mean. That's the point I'm making about you. What I think is that you're just gone. I want to help people.
Yeah, but loads of people like that.
Yeah, I think the business community.
Unbelievable. Teachers. Listen, great teachers change lives. Shit teachers ruin lives.
Yeah. I think that, mate. It's, like I say, fascinating. And look, you talk about that with people. I think you're right. There is people out there that people genuinely want to. You took a mutual friend of ours, Gary Peters. When I shut the business in 2030, one of the first people on the phone to me going, let's go and have a beer and talk about how I can help. Do you know what I mean? There's people do want to support, and there are good people out there that want to help.
He'll love that he got mentioned, and I'm gutted we've mentioned him.
I can edit that out.
But he is, for everyone to know, he is my oldest friend. So we went to primary school together, and what's so funny about our lives is obviously you come from London to Brighton, and I've gone from Brighton to London. And then in that middle gap, we've got a million connections. So that just goes to... So when you ask that question about what would you advise a young entrepreneur, never, ever, ever burn bridges.
Yeah, love that. Right, last one, mate. We're going to wrap up this. Give me 3 traits you think a person needs to be a good business person.
Subject knowledge. Like my dad's a plumber. Got to know how to plumb houses, haven't you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Hairdresser. Got to know how to cut hair.
Yeah.
Teacher, got to know how to teach.
Yeah.
Right, remind me of the question again.
So three traits that you think a person needs to be.
Subject knowledge. If you're going to be X Factor good, passion. Look at Jurgen Klopp. Great subject knowledge, great passion. And knowing when to have humility.
Amazing. Mate, what a great way to finish. What can I say? Look, really grateful for you coming on. It's been absolutely brilliant, and look, it's going to be what a great way to round up the end of my first series and doing a podcast and having you as a guest. So, mate, thanks very much. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks for having me, and I really hope the listeners get a lot out of it. Cheers,
I'm sure they will. Top man.
Thanks.
And that is a wrap.